pencil, if we still use that kind of thing, or if you're typing into your computer, get ready to take some notes. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Cooch. Mike, if you're there, just go ahead and jump right in.
I am here. Thank you very much, Charles. And I appreciate everybody here who's on this call. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope that I can deliver some good value to you here. Charles, real quick, in terms of screen sharing, I'm not sure how
let's
exactly
see.
I'm going about. It doesn't look like I'm going to...
Let me make you a panelist.
There we go.
And let's see. Do you have it yet?
I don't.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's try to make you a presenter. Let's try to do it that way.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. We got it. Excellent.
Nice. Perfect. Thank you so much. Here, I'll max this up here. All right. Very good. So, again, thank you very much, everybody, for your time and attention. As Charles said, what we're all in this for, I think, at least for me, is building what I call a real business. And I use that word not trying to be demeaning in any way of anybody's business. I just think that when we all get into starting our own companies, we have this dream. The dream is that we build some sort of organization and some sort of asset that largely works for us, even when we're not necessarily working. And that, I know, is really, really important to me. I've been fortunate that it's one of the things that I think I'm pretty good at is building a company like that. And, that's afforded me some really nice things. I mean, just as an example, I'm taking a good part of June to July time frame, and my family and I are going and living in Paris. And if I didn't have a good company and a good organization set up, obviously I wouldn't be able to do that. So, I hope that some of the things that I can talk to you about here today will help you do that and help you achieve a similar type of thing for yourself. My company here, Kutenda, you can see the logo up there on the right-hand side. I started this business a handful of years ago now, and before I really knew these terms, local marketing and offline marketing, it just seemed like, okay, there's a bunch of small businesses out there that need help with this stuff, so I'm going to go and give it a shot. And I've sold to small businesses my entire career, actually, so I felt like I had a pretty good handle on how I could do this and make it work. And sure enough, we were able to grow this business to about $150,000 a month in revenue in 18 months. So it's a multi-million-dollar business, and it's dynamic field and growing and changing all the time. But we've been able to achieve something and move it forward. And I've got a team here of about 20 in Denver, Colorado, and we're getting after it every day, just like you guys are. So, to me, the most important first thing when it comes to building a business is you've got to have a revenue model that works, and that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to cover what I think are the 9 essential sales skills that you all should have, anybody on your team that's responsible for generating revenue should have, so that you can, as predictably as possible and as fast as possible, get that revenue going so you can get past that, that first hump of, and to me that first hump is when you're really just still scrambling and just trying to make enough money to pay the bills, and once you get past that, things just get a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. But a lot of people think that sales is like some art or something that you're born with, and they don't systematically look at it. They don't look at it as a systematic process to continue to develop and improve and follow, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this presentation. I have an awful lot of slides to cover, so I'm going to go fast. I want to be respectful of your time here. And then at the end, I will handle any questions that you have. So I'm just going to go ahead and whiz through this content just to make sure that we get through it. But afterwards, I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions you have. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and... All right. So I already gave you the intro of what we're going to cover in this webinar. To me, this is what it's all about, right? You hear about rainmakers, you hear about the salespeople that can deliver results consistently, and it's true. There are a handful of salespeople that by far and away outperform the rest of the salespeople in any industry. And I've seen this over and over again, that that top 10 or 20% of salespeople truly produce 80 or 90% of the results when it comes to revenue. And this is so critical for any company to be able to, generate that revenue on a consistent basis. I mean, there's that saying in sales that nothing happens until a sale is made. Well, that's absolutely true in your business, right? So this is me, Mike Cooch. I always joke, I see this picture, my designer put a little frame around it, and I joke that that's the one that my mom has on her bedside table, but that's me. I've started a couple of successful businesses now. Started and sold my last one. Made the Inc. 5000 3 years in a row for that company. Grew it at over 100% a year, three years in a row. There's an organization there called the MSP Mentor 250. That was just kind of the media outlet for that industry, and several years in a row. I don't know how many years in a row. I was nominated to be one of the 250 kind of most successful and most influential people in that industry. So had some good success, had a lot of fun, and being a part of a company that grows like that and creating that asset is a blast. And like I said, I was able to sell that for a good exit a handful of years ago. But I tell you what, sales were not always easy. I never, I was not born with some sales gene. I did not get sales training from one of the masters of the universe of selling or anything like that. I just went out and just hustled and tried to build my business, much like I'm sure many of you are. And that meant, picking up the phone, making cold calls, going to networking events, not really knowing what the heck I was doing, to be honest, but just kind of learning on the fly. And, I think that just out of sheer hustle, I was able to make it work well enough that I stuck with it and then went and invested my own money into my own sales training. And I still do a ton of that today. I mean, I spend so much money every year on my own development and my own training, and I think that that's critical. I mean, we're entrepreneurs. There's nobody looking out for us. We've got to look out for ourselves. But it wasn't always easy. But the lesson I want to really make sure and impart on you is that it can be learned. I don't really care who you are, what your background is. If you think you're a shy person or an outgoing person, if you think you're naturally charismatic or not, I do believe that sales can be learned. Sure, are some people naturally better at it than others? Yes, but I don't think that you need to let that hold you back. And I think unfortunately a lot of people think that sales is just something they're not good at, or just something they weren't born to do type of thing. And I think that that's that's hogwash. I was fortunate to learn firsthand in my last business from a guy that I think is just absolutely the consummate sales professional. That's a group of guys from my last company. When we sold the business, I took them all to Vegas for a big celebration weekend. We had a great time. We rented a cabana at which pool? I can't remember, like the Tao Pool Lounge or whatever. Anyway, big party scene. We actually had Carmelo Anthony right in the cabana next to us. So it was a pretty cool scene. But that guy standing there with me was my top sales guy the entire time. From start to finish at my last business. And the guy was just an absolute machine, absolute professional, everything that you could ask for in a salesperson. So I watched him very closely, and this presentation, a lot of what I cover comes from really just watching him and learning from what he did. I think that there are 3 myths that hold people back in becoming good salespeople or developing their sales skills or developing their sales competencies at their organization. I think the first one is that sales are for scumbags. You hear a lot of people out there talk about, I don't want to feel like some high pressure sales guy, and I don't it makes me feel like I'm doing something dirty trying to sell people stuff. I understand that, but I think that you really got to shift your mindset on that. You have something valuable to offer, and you need to get it out there to other businesses that you can help. So that's something that, a myth that I think holds a lot of people back, unfortunately, but I can assure you that I don't do anything in any of my sales process that I feel is unethical. If I don't feel like I have value to deliver to people, then I don't want their money, and you should feel the same way too. Myth number 2, if you're doing your marketing right, you shouldn't have to sell. This is an important one in this industry. As Charles said, we got into internet marketing because of all the exciting opportunities that it creates, and it does. However, particularly in selling, I think, to mom-and-pop businesses and local businesses, I think that it is critical to understand that there is a sales process involved as well. No matter how good of a job you do with your marketing, They typically want to talk to somebody. They want to have a sense of some sort of relationship with somebody, and you generally cannot achieve that just by doing marketing. I think that anybody who is competing in the local marketing field that does not sell as well as market is just, they're never going to be competitive long term in this business. Myth number 3, we talked about this before, but you're either a salesperson or you're not. I just absolutely don't buy it. I've seen the most awkward, socially, just kind of strange people that are fantastic salespeople, and I've seen the most charismatic, seem like they could, sell ice to the Eskimos kind of people that were terrible at sales. So I really don't believe that you're either born there or not. I believe that there are skills to learn, and then if you learn them, you can absolutely build an effective sales and marketing process at your business. So let's just talk about Sales and Marketing 101 just real quick here. I know a lot of you know what a sales and marketing funnel is, but I just want to talk about how I look at it here real quick. This is my funnel, the way that I lay it out. I like this know, like, trust, try, buy. Anytime anybody asks me about a sales and marketing process, to me that's the process, right? You've got to get people to know you, and then you've got to get them to like you versus somebody else. People like to buy from somebody that they like, and then trust, and then eventually try from you, some sort of low-end offer or a trial offer, and then eventually buy from you and hopefully buy from you repeatedly and become a client. It is a process to move somebody through that. Your marketing does much of it, but your sales often does much of it as well. And again, I think when you're dealing with those small local businesses, you have to expect that much of this process will happen through conversations with you or with the salesperson on your team. The most important lesson that I can teach about this is that you already hold the keys to sales success. I think that, a lot of people think that they're looking for some mystery, mystery skill, mystery, strategy to all of a sudden light their sales on fire. I don't believe that that's the case. I think it's practicing fundamentals. And I think that if you are already doing any sort of consultative work with any business client, you're helping them with solutions and you're helping solve their problems, I believe that you already hold the keys to sales success, because I think that that's what it's primarily about. Now this is kind of your typical, scumbag used car salesman type of image, right? You do not have to be this guy, okay? That does not have to be you to be a successful salesperson. You don't have to do anything that you feel dirty about or unethical about. You just need to follow a process, and you need to learn a certain set of skills and constantly improve those skills. So let's jump into them. That's a lot of lead up, I know here. These, to me, again, are the 9 essential sales skills. And whether you plan on doing the selling yourself or you plan on having somebody sell for you, you hire somebody, whatever it is, I think it's absolutely critical that if you are an entrepreneur and you own a business, that you need to know and understand these skills, because anybody that's working for you and doing this on your behalf, you had better be looking out for these 9 skills and better be looking for ways to constantly improve them to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck, whether it's you doing it or somebody that you've hired. All right, the first one, setting big goals that motivate you to consistent action. And we're just going to run through these real quick, and then we'll dig into them through the rest of the presentation. 2, practicing effective time management and organization to make sure you're getting the right amount of activity in daily. Prospecting to keep the funnel full. Following up relentlessly. Developing value propositions that sell. Having good conversations and asking good questions to develop rapport, uncover real buyer needs, those good questions that make you really understand a client and what they're looking for. Running an effective sales meeting and proposal presentation process. Overcoming objections and asking for the business, right? Closing. So those are the 9 essential sales skills. And again, I like to look at it not as, sales is some big mystery. I look at it as these 9 skills. And if something is not working, you can step back now and say, okay, which one of the 9 are we not doing a good job of, right? And that's critical. You want to have the ability to step back and analyze what's happening so that you can try and improve it. All right. Oh, I goofed up there. Sorry, I'm supposed to have the first 4 highlighted, not just the first, not just 1, 2, and 4. The first 4 there should be highlighted. To me, these are the what I call the butt in seat skills, right? And effectively, part of being good at building a business and part of being good at selling is just being there every day, right? Putting your butt in the seat and making sure that you're getting it done every day. It's not that it requires any sort of genius or even very much training, although certainly on setting goals and practicing effective time management and organization, a lot of people do need training there, and there are skills there. But for the most part, it's really just a matter of getting it done every day, right? And that's where the big goals come in. People need to be motivated to actually take action to do the things that need to be done every day. And if you can't motivate yourself, if you can't be excited about the future that you're creating, then you're never going to do the things that need to be done. So again, to me, these are the butts and seats types of skills. The next 5 are, to me, where sales training is really effective, right? And, the first 4, I like to say, I don't motivate people, right? I hire motivated people. I don't have time to motivate all my employees. If I've accidentally hired somebody who is not motivated to get it done every day, then honestly I need to let them go from my organization because I don't have time to motivate people. I hire motivated people. But on these last 5 things, you could have a perfectly motivated person, but if they've never been trained at all on actually how to sell effectively and what the skills are of selling, well, that person could just be on a treadmill, right? They could be willing to run all day long and run as fast as they can, but not get anywhere because nobody's actually given them the skills. And I think 5 through 9 there are where the real skills of selling come in. All right, so again, back to my Rainmaker guy. We're going to take you through all 9 of these, and hopefully this is what we're all doing here in a year or two. We're off having a good celebration in a cabana, enjoying ourselves because we built a great business and a great asset that's working on our behalf. I don't know if anybody, if you've ever seen this movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. I love Will Smith. I love this movie. True story about a guy who was just miserably down on his luck and had a son homeless in the streets of San Francisco, literally sleeping, in public bathrooms and stuff at night. This guy ended up getting a job with Dean Witter, talked himself into a job essentially. Did everything he could to not reveal that he was homeless and just hustled like crazy every day. And this guy built what is now, a fortune for himself, many millions of dollars, through selling. He was so fired up about building his business that the guy, it's amazing. I remember seeing an interview with him on Oprah where his dialing finger, because, he used to sit there and dial with his one finger, and he used to make 300-plus calls every single day, which if you've ever done calling is very hard to do.
Wow.
He now has a permanent bend to his finger from whacking the phone button so many times. It's amazing. If you need motivation, if you feel like you're in need of it, absolutely go out and watch this movie. I don't know how you could ever walk away without just being fired up to go and build your business after seeing that. And that gets to what I think is a recipe for success, right? You take big goals, time management, follow-up. You do those things. You combine them all with some passion, some energy, and really you can learn the rest of this stuff. You can overcome anything that needs to be overcome and build your business. I really do believe that, but it's up to you to provide the motivation and to make sure that you're doing those butts and seats activities to make sure that you're getting it done every single day. All right, so we're going to talk about skill. We're going to jump right into skill number 4, which is prospecting. So again, I'm not going to talk to you about how to motivate yourself. I'm not going to talk to you about how to organize your time. Those are things that really it's very individual, and those are the types of things that you can do on your own, however they're most effective for you. All I will say to close up that section is you have to do it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter how many skills you learn. If you don't tackle those first handful of things, right, and do an effective job of that, then there's really nothing else that, all the training in the world won't matter, right? So you've got to take action. You've got to be disciplined about making sure that you're getting the sales activity in every day to build your business. All right, so let's talk about skill number 4. Skill number 4 is prospecting. One, most people don't realize that there is a process to prospecting, right? They think of it as more of like an event, like I'm just sitting down and it's a one-time event of I'm trying to get a hold of somebody and get their attention. That's not the way it works. You need to have a process that gets you on the radar of a lot of potential clients. It keeps you there front and center, until that elusive time of need, right? Because not all customers are going to be interested in buying what you have to sell today. You need to have a process that keeps in front of them so that, when they are ready, you're the person that they think of. It needs to create a preference to work with you over the competition, and it needs to create a sense of dissatisfaction in the status quo, right? If you get a hold of somebody and you're having a conversation and you're saying, hey, your business could be doing a lot better than it is, you want to make them feel that pain so that they know, oh man, I need to make a change, and I should make that change with this person standing right in front of me, that can help me do that. But it's a process. You've got to think of it as a process, and there are two fundamentals to making that process work. There's frequency and there's value proposition. Okay, frequency and value proposition. Now, this is a study. This is data from a study from Leads 360. Leads 360 is a leads management company, so they manage tens of millions of leads through this software system for major marketing companies, like huge insurance companies like Geico and stuff like that, right, where they're just getting floods of leads in every day from all their radio and TV advertising. And so because they have all of that data, they're able to do some amazing research that shows how much the results improve based on the number of times that you contact a prospect over a set period of time. And this is, if anybody's ever heard of the Chase formula, the WSO that I launched about 6 months ago, this is what the Chase formula is all about. Most people prospect, they do one or two things. They make a phone call, they send an email or a direct mail piece, and then they follow up once, and then they kind of give up. Oh, that person didn't respond to me, so they must not be interested. Well, look at the data here. Day one, they show that people, if they're calling, right, one time, two times, then three times, all in day one, look at the improvement just in day one. Go from a 194% chance. So this is assuming that you sent an email or a direct mail piece or that somebody contacted you and said that you were interested. If you followed up within 0 to 5 minutes, you had a 194% better chance of conversion than if you waited, right, for that first call. Now, if you look at through day 11 and 12, if you have made your 6th touch by day 11 or 12, so you didn't get a hold of anybody on those first 5 calls, but you make that 6th call within the 11th or 12th day, you have a 500% better chance of conversion with that prospect than if you just made those first couple of follow-up calls. 500%. So again, it's a process, right? It's not a big mystery. Here is absolutely quantifiable data over 20 million leads that shows that it's a matter of the process and having the right number of touches over a period of time. And it doesn't have to be just phone calls. I mean, what we use a mix of phone calls, emails, direct mail pieces, whatever it takes. But the point is, look, just because somebody has not called you back after that first contact or second contact, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested. It means probably that they're busy or that they deleted your voicemail without even listening to it or they forgot about it or whatever it is. You need to be consistent and have a process where you follow up with multiple touches over that condensed period of time, that concentrated period of time, and the odds of you getting through to that person and getting an opportunity with them go up by huge amounts. All right, so this is the way we do it. Again, this is the foundation of our Chase formula. We send an email out to a prospect, with some sort of message, hopefully a compelling message. Do a phone call and an email follow-up the next day. We do a phone call on day 4, a phone call and email follow-up day 6, phone call day 9, phone call and email follow-up day 12, and then you can see we keep going for a little bit because we found it still pays off. But this is the process that we follow. So in our business, we believe very heavily in educational marketing. So we run a lot of webinars, and we try and get prospects to those webinars. And then once they're on that webinar, we know, okay, they've expressed some sort of interest in our services or what we have to offer. So then we do this follow-up process to go after them. We get 5 times the results from our marketing efforts by following this process afterwards. So if we run a webinar, 100 people on it, we make an offer, for our marketing services, we may get a couple people that take us up on that. By then doing this follow-up process afterwards over the next 2 weeks, we get 5 times the results consistently. So absolutely must have a process that you follow to make sure that you are prospecting effectively and getting people on the phone or getting people into meetings with you so that you can sell yourself. All right, skill number 5, crafting strong value propositions, okay? It doesn't matter if you do all of that work if you've got nothing enticing to say, right? You've got to have a value proposition in your marketing that makes people interested in listening to you. There are 3 components of strong value propositions. 1, it must resonate. 2, it must differentiate. And 3, excuse me, it must substantiate. Let me explain all these after I get a drink here. Resonate, differentiate, and substantiate. So what do I mean by those? Oh, before I jump into that, what do I mean by those? Resonate just means that it must be something that they find interesting, right? So, a message to a business owner, to an entrepreneur could be, hey, I'm going to help you grow your business by 3 times in the next year, all while giving you the ability to have more time off. Right? Obviously, to any entrepreneur, that would sound very interesting. Differentiate means that you need to sound different than your competition. Right now, this field is full of people who are going out with the exact same messages. I'll make you page 1 of Google. I'll make you number 1 of Google. I don't know how many times in the last 2 years I've been sent that exact pitch. You've got to come up with something that differentiates you. And third, substantiate. Substantiate just means that you've got to be able to prove that what you have to say is, it has some credibility, right? You've got to give some sort of evidence, some sort of statistics, testimonials from your clients, whatever it is, that substantiates your claim so that people know that you are trustworthy and worth listening to. So any strong value proposition will include these 3 components, and I really encourage you, if you have not looked at your value proposition and your messaging that you're putting out into the world to try and get clients, you should do that. You should step back and take a look at it and ask, does it include these 3 components? So let me give you some examples here. This is an example. If I'm a computer repair salesperson, which is an industry that we service a lot with our marketing efforts, so I'm very familiar with how they sell their services. This is a very common example of what I would call weak sales messaging. So let's just pretend that this is somebody picking up the phone and trying to call a business owner to get their attention and try and sell them services. But this could be a marketing message on a postcard or a sales letter or whatever it is. The messaging is pretty consistent. But in this case, hi, is this Mr. Buyer? Hi, Mr. Buyer. I'm Mike with Total Computer Repair. I was wondering if you have any IT problems. We help companies like yours with IT problems so that their computers run better. And we accomplish this by using our expertise to make sure the computers run well, and you'd be amazed at the prices we can do this for. Do you have some time available soon that I can come out with you to discuss what we can do for you? This is a totally common sales pitch from this whole industry of IT service professionals, that what they do is they sell management contracts to small businesses to manage their computer stuff, right? So, if you're a 20-person law firm, it doesn't make sense for you to have your own IT department, but you will have some sort of outsourced contractor that you use to help you with your technology. So these, this is what these guys do. They go out to the, they look at all the 20-person law firms or accounting firms or consultants or whatever out there. They go knocking on the doors and they say, hey, we can run your computers better for you so you have less downtime and, save you some money and all that type of thing. But it's weak messaging. It doesn't have the resonate, the differentiate, or substantiate. Let me give you an example of what I would consider more powerful messaging. So, hi, Mr. Buyer. Did I catch you at a bad time? I'm Mike with Productive Medical Systems. We work with multi-location medical offices just like yours to make sure you get a strong ROI on your IT investment, protect your patient data, and most importantly, keep your highly paid medical staff busy taking care of patients throughout the week. We recently finished a project for Premier Medical Group just across town from you that cut billing system errors by 27% and guarantees HIPAA compliance. Look, I know I've caught you off guard with my call, but do you have a few minutes so I can ask just a few questions to determine if it makes any sense to continue our discussion? I hope that you can see the difference, right? That first one, very generic. The second one, in red here, you can see some of the components of the messaging that are specific to help make my message resonate, They differentiate, right? I'm productive medical systems. I focus on multi-location medical offices just like yours. Obviously, in the scenario, I'm calling into a medical office. I'm using language that's important to them. Protect your patient data. Keep your highly paid medical staff busy. Cut billing system errors by 27%. That substantiates, right? I did a project with Premier Medical Group. Hopefully that's a peer of his in the area there that he recognizes. A guarantee HIPAA compliance. Again, these are all things that resonate, differentiate, and substantiate from somebody who's just calling with a generic message. Okay? So if you are out there approaching businesses with a generic message, I highly encourage you to step back, take a look at your messaging, pick a particular vertical industry that you are interested in working with, and tailor your messaging on your marketing and on your sales scripts to make sure that what you're doing resonates, differentiates, and substantiates. Otherwise, you just sound like everybody else that's out there pitching similar services. I hope that makes sense to you. Skill number 6, mastering sales conversations. Okay, so our prospecting efforts worked. We got somebody on the phone. We got a meeting with them, whatever it is. However you do your sales pitch, we actually don't meet with our clients in person. We do our whole presentation over the phone, but maybe you meet with them in person. However that works for you, you're going to have some sort of sales conversation with them, right? This is some research from friends of mine at a company called the Rain Group. Do a lot of research on why businesses buy, why they choose to buy versus pass and not buy. And this is some very interesting data on why customers report that they did not buy from a salesperson. And look at the number 1 problem here. Did not listen to me. Number 2, did not understand my needs. Number 3, which I didn't circle there, but did not respond in a timely manner. Number 4, did not convince me of the value. Number 5, did not craft a compelling solution. All of these things are just conversation skills, which sounds kind of crazy that, that's all it is. But how many of you have had a conversation with a salesperson where they just drove you up the wall because it was very clear that they were not listening to you, that they weren't taking the time to really understand your needs and what you were looking for? I'm sure that you've all experienced that before. And this is what it comes down to. People do not buy from you because your conversational skills lack, right? This is the number 1 reason that people do not buy, is that you just did not listen to them. They don't feel listened to, right? Now, I'm sure the salesperson on the other end of the situation, of course, would feel like, oh, well, of course I listened to them. But you did not make them feel like you listened to them. You didn't convince them that you listened to them, and so the sale did not happen. This is just a graph, kind of hard to explain, but it's this graph that just says, hey, if people did listen to me, my chances of me buying go way up, and statistically, based on all those surveys, absolutely proves to be true. But it's one thing to say to somebody, hey, have better conversations, Charles. Have better conversations with your prospects, and you'll sell better. Well, that's pretty darn vague. I mean, how do you have a better conversation, right? That's the question. So here's this methodology. They call it, the RAIN selling methodology. And RAIN are the points that frame how you actually have a conversation with a prospect. The first is to build rapport. Okay, that's the R, build rapport. You need to build rapport with your prospects before you jump into selling them. And I think we've all experienced that case where the salesperson they sensed an opportunity, right? They sensed blood, and they just come in for the attack even though they've done nothing to build any sort of rapport or relationship with us. You've got to build rapport. Otherwise, most people will shut down and never let you get past any of these other phases. Next is you want to help articulate their aspirations, which is just a fancy way for saying get them to articulate their goals. What is it that they're looking for, right? And their afflictions. What pains do they have, right? What goals and what pains? Because nobody buys anything unless they have a goal or a pain, right? A goal that they are moving towards or a pain that they are moving away from. Oftentimes, your prospect will not know exactly what that is. You've got to get them to articulate that. You've got to help them a lot of times, to kind of pull that out from them. Next is to uncover the impact of success and failure. Impact, right? If they were to go with a solution like yours, how much of a difference would that make for them? Or if they were to just sit on their hands and not do anything different, how big of an impact will that make for them, right? And then finally, the new reality, okay? The new reality is trying to get them to see, okay, you know what? If you go with me in this direction, if you take advantage of my services, then we can make this reality for you, right? We can help you achieve your goals or get rid of your problems and create this better future for you that we just outlined. Now, this is a sales conversation process. This is a sales conversation framework. This is how you have better conversations with people. You need to go into your conversations understanding, okay, here is the general process of how you do this. I can't just go in and jump down the throat and start asking them, within 5 minutes of meeting you, hey, Charles, how big is your business? How many millions of dollars are you doing this year? Are you making any money? If I go in and Charles doesn't have any rapport with me and I start asking questions like that, he's going to kick me out, right out of the door as fast as he can. He's not going to want to open up to me about that kind of stuff. But if we have good rapport, if I take the time to listen to him and talk to him, then the influence and trust starts to develop over time, right? You can see those arrows at the bottom. And I start getting the ability to start asking him questions like, well, Charles, tell me a little bit about your business. What isn't going well? Why are you struggling with that, you think, and how big of an impact is that having? And, well, can you put a dollar figure to that? I mean, are we talking, is this a $200,000 a year program or a problem or $1 million a year problem, right? What does that really mean to you? When I have rapport, I can ask those kind of questions and get the customer to talk to me about those types of things. When you achieve that, you are in that position that they often refer to in sales as the trusted advisor, right? Which is the absolute best position that you want to be in, as a salesperson selling to other businesses. You want to be that advisor that they trust to lead them into solutions that are good for them and not take advantage of them. And when you have that position, effectively, you have long-term clients that open up their wallets to you, right? So having a conversation framework like this that you can follow is incredibly valuable. Excuse me. All right, skill number 7, run an effective meeting and proposal process. So again, whether you do this virtually, like we do, just over the phone and over the internet, or you actually meet with them in person, I'm always frustrated to see that most salespeople in particular, not necessarily entrepreneurs, not necessarily business owners, but the salespeople that work for them, just kind of go and wing it, right? They go into a sales process, a proposal process, and a meeting, and they're just winging it. They're not clear about what their goals are, and they don't have a process that they are trying to follow in those meetings and in that proposal process. You need to have a sales presentation checklist. You need to know that when you get that opportunity, you've done all that prospecting, all that hard work, you've spent those marketing dollars to get in front of a prospect, you need to know that you're going in there with your A game, that you have specific things that you're trying to accomplish, and that you have a specific process for accomplishing them. And if you do, you're going to get dramatically better results than if you go in there and wing it. So we always develop a sales presentation checklist, right, for our sales team to follow to make sure that we're all consistently following the same methodology. Now that may change over time because we may, we're going to learn some things from being out there and talking to prospects and finding out what's going well and what's not, but we change it and then we all follow it, right? And I know that sounds like a lot of work. I hear that from people, man, you're telling me I need to know step by step all the things that I'm going to ask and the points I'm going to try and cover and all that type of stuff. Yes, it is a lot of work. And I know a lot of people say, well, I don't want to sound that scripted. I want to have flexibility to work with, the prospect and not sound just like I'm a machine following a script. Your presentation should be scripted, but it should not sound scripted, right? You should practice it so that, you are able to do it naturally, and it doesn't sound just like you're a robot, just kind of regurgitating the script. So that's absolutely true. But you absolutely must have a process that you are following, right? What questions should be asked? You should have a list, right? What are the specific goals of that client? Are those things that you can help them with? You should have a specific checklist. What things are you willing to negotiate on, and what things are you not willing to negotiate on? All of those things should be scripted out methodically so that you know that you are bringing your A game into every meeting. This is an example of one of these checklists. Now, I don't show, my fear in showing you this is you might go, oh, geez, overwhelming. It does not have to be this big.
Wow.
This is from a company I know. Yeah, this is from a company I know, though, that they sell $500,000 deals. So when you're selling a $500,000 deal, do you want to walk in there without having thought through this stuff? Without having given your best to really prepare the right presentation and the right conversation and articulate your value points and know what objections you're likely to face and have responses for them and know where you're willing to negotiate? I would hope not. I would think that anybody that has an opportunity like that would go in prepared for battle, right? So maybe you're not going into $500,000 deals. Maybe you can't spend hours and hours and hours preparing for every deal, but you know what? Every deal you could spend an hour preparing for, or it's not. If you can't spend an hour preparing to try and win that deal, you shouldn't even be going after that deal. I mean, if it's not worth that to you. So having a toned down version of some sort of checklist where you think through, okay, what are my value propositions to this prospect? How am I going to present that? What things can I bring along that will substantiate that I'm the right person to work with or the right company to work with? What objections am I likely to face, and what are my best responses to those objections? Having those things thought through, and the good news is you do this once, and it becomes very, very easy going forward, and pretty soon it's just something that you whiz through very quickly. But the point is, if it's worth going after, if it's worth putting all this energy selling to, then put together a process to make sure that you're giving it your A game. And this process is now something that you can hand off to somebody that works for you so that when you're off doing whatever it is that you want to do, you know that your team is still doing the right presentation each time that you have an opportunity. All right, skill number 8, overcoming objections. There's nothing worse than seeing a salesperson just kind of collapse on themselves when they hear an objection, right, that they don't know how to handle. They just kind of get all frozen up and stumped, and I've seen guys get really red-faced and sweaty because they don't know how to answer, a particular prospect's questions. You've got to have a process for overcoming objections. You've got to, as I said before, understand the most likely objections you're going to face and practice how you overcome those objections in the most effective way. The good news is there are only 4 objection types, right? It can seem overwhelming if you think, oh, geez, I don't know what they're, how they're going to object, what I'm going to, experience in this call. But really, there are only 4 objection types. There are need objections, right? I don't see the need for your services. Urgency objections. I see the need, but I don't need them now. Trust. I just don't believe that you can deliver, that you're the right person to work with. Or money. The prospect thinks that you're too expensive or they can't afford your services, right? Every objection falls into one of those 4 buckets. If you can come up with some objection that does not fit into there, I'll be shocked, but I believe that they all do. So I teach a 5-step objection handling process. Listen, understand, respond, confirm, and continue. Now, the biggest problem and the reason that prospects report that you're not listening to them and don't understand them is that we like to jump right into step 3. Somebody gives me an objection, and I just want to respond and go, oh, yeah, but no, here's how we handle that, so it's not really a problem at all, right? But what you should do is listen very carefully, make sure that the prospect knows that you're listening, repeat back to them your understanding of the objection to make sure that you do, in fact, understand what exactly they mean. And then and only then, after you've done those two things, should you start responding, right? And then once you've responded, you want to confirm, hey, you know what, I heard your objection. I understand it. I understand why it's an issue for you. Here was my response. Did I address that for you, right? And if you did, then you want to continue. But if you did not, then you want to make sure and stick with that a little bit and do your best to address it. Now, not everything can be addressed right there on the spot. There may be something that you need to go research or something like that. In that case, you say, hey, I've listened to you. I've understood you. I think I have a good handle on this. What I need to go do is do my homework. Is that okay? Yes, great. And if I do that and I'm able to get back to you with a good response, are we good to continue moving this deal forward, right? If we are able to resolve that, are we good to keep moving forward, right? That's a good question to be able to ask to make sure that you're not just spinning your wheels. Because sometimes, people are just going to put their foot down with an objection, and no matter how you respond to it, they're done, right? They're not buying. Well, that's a good way of finding that out. You can ask. You don't want to waste your time. You can say, hey, have I in fact addressed this? And if I have, or if I do, is there anything else that's holding us back from moving this deal forward? I want to make sure we address everything. Okay, so use that objection handling process to ensure that you and your team are not jumping right into respond. Right? You want to listen and understand before you respond, and then confirm that you've addressed it before you continue. Now, handling money objections seems to be a special case that people really get hung up on. Well, they told me I can't afford it. They can't afford it, so that is just kind of the end of that. Well, the reality is that most money objections are not actually money objections. Money objections are what people are trained to do, or they naturally learn to do, to reject you without having to give the real reason to reject you. Oh, you know what, we just can't afford it right now. We just don't have the budget for that. Well, in many, many cases, it's not actually a money issue. It's just, like I said, they saw something else that they didn't like, but that's the easiest way to let you down. So you want to ask questions to actually make sure it's actually a money issue, right? And this is where rapport comes in, right? Because if you don't have rapport with people, you can't really probe into this stuff. So you've got to have good rapport to do that. And you've got to focus on the value of your services, right? If you're doing some marketing services for a business that's going to help them grow, then you've got to change this mindset from an expense, by working with you, to an investment by working with you, an investment where they are going to see a positive return on that investment. If you can demonstrate that, then you can start to overcome those money objections. You can also figure out what part of the service they don't need. Oftentimes, we package up our services into these bundled offerings. As an example, our company, we offer, websites, email, social media management, webinar management, and we bundle all of those things together in packages. Well, sometimes people will say, oh, I can't afford that. And really, the issue is that we've bundled too many things together. And we say, well, is there a part of this package that you don't need? Because if there is, we can lower the price. And oftentimes, yeah, I don't need the social media stuff. We do that in-house already. Okay, fine. Let's take that out of there, and I can lower my price to you. So find out if there's something that they don't need. If, a competitor offers the same service for less money, you really want to do an apples-to-apples comparison and make sure that it is, in fact, the same service. It rarely is, right? So you want to make sure that you have a good detailed list of all of the things that your service will deliver, to make sure that when somebody is looking at your services versus somebody else and you're priced higher, that you can actually sit down with them and say, well, look, there's actually a lot of things I'm delivering here that they are not. And then be prepared to offer negotiating points, right? It's human nature that people want a deal, okay? I always like to walk into any business situation where I'm selling something, to a customer where there's, some sort of proposal process like this, and they could be spending, a good amount of money with me. I always like to walk in prepared to offer something, right? Because it's human nature. If you just you firmly stand your ground and just refuse to budge on any negotiating points, you've left somebody frustrated, right? Instead, if you have something that you're willing to give up, so that when it comes to negotiating, you can, kind of hem and haw a little bit and say, hey, you know what? Here's what I can do for you. Let me cut you this deal. People like to feel like they got a deal. It's human nature. It's psychology. So be prepared to offer some sort of deal so that you can make them feel good about what they got. Even if nothing else, an employee likes to be able to go back to their boss and say, hey, look, but I got us a discount, right? It makes them feel good that they accomplished something. So be prepared to offer those negotiating points. All right, and then skill number 9, last one here, is knowing how to ask for the business, okay, closing. If you've ever seen Glenn Ross, great classic old sales movie, Coffee is for Closers, right? ABC, always be closing. It's obviously a dramatic example of the stereotypical kind of sales organization and salesperson. I don't expect that any of you are closing so aggressively that you're crossing some sort of ethical line. That's not what I'm about. However, it does come down to the point in every sales process where if you know how to ask for a deal and you know how to do it properly and at the right time, you will make far and away more money than the salesperson who doesn't know how to do it. So you've got to practice those skills. Now, I'm a big believer that closing should not be some high-pressure thing. It should be a natural conclusion to a well-executed sales process and a well-executed sales conversation, right? So to me, you should have this clear criteria for closing somebody. If you are not able to put a checkbox next to each of these things, then you should not be closing them. One, you should be able to confirm that they're qualified in the first place, right? Do they have the money? Are they in the right industry? Do the services that you provide, are they in fact really going to provide value and help them? If not, you shouldn't be closing. 2, you should know what their criteria for success is, right? What are they looking for? Are you very clear about what they're hoping to get out of the sale? 3, what their buying steps are. Do you know their process for buying? It's one thing to have your process for selling, but every company has their process for buying. You need to understand what that process is to make sure that you are working within it. 4, what their timeline is. When do they expect to get this done? 5, what objections they needed resolved. Did you address them all, right? Can you confirm that? And 6, that your solution is the right one for their needs and will solve their problems, right? If you can't put a checkbox next to each of these things, you should not be closing. If you can put a checkbox next to each of these things, it becomes very, very simple, right? You can literally share that checklist with them effectively and say, hey, it seems like everything is in order, Mr. Prospect, and that our proposed solution addresses everything you were looking for. Is there anything else we need to address before we move forward? Very simple closing question, not high pressure. Oftentimes you're going to hear something like, well, yeah, could you send me that proposal one more time? I want to look it over again, or I want to show it to somebody, or something like that, right? And this is where you've got to have just enough pressure to try and move a deal forward without trying to be that aggressive, kind of sleazy sales guy. I'd be happy to, but can you please clarify for me, what it is you'd like to accomplish by reviewing it again, and the time frame for making a final decision. You can even say, hey, I thought we had addressed everything, so I'm just a little taken back here. I just want to make sure that I have in fact addressed everything. And then whatever response, well, if we get that taken care of, will there be anything else preventing us from moving forward? Again, it's not an aggressive sales pitch, but it is a firm sales pitch, right? It is a firm close. I'm not just letting them completely off the hook and drag me around by, delaying and asking for this and asking for that. I'm being clear that, hey, I am trying to close this deal. I want to make sure that we're either moving forward or we're not. So, but it should be as simple as that. It does not have to be a high-pressure process. All right, so that's 9 essential sales skills: setting those big goals, practicing effective time management and organization, prospecting regularly to keep the funnel full, whether you do that via email, direct mail, phone calls, whatever it is, following up after those marketing activities relentlessly, developing value propositions that sell. You should absolutely step back here and take a look at your value proposition and figure out, does it meet those 3 components? Having good conversations. This is probably the #1 skill as a salesperson that you can develop, which is just the ability to make people feel like you listen to them and you understand them, right? And that goes for probably any relationship in life. People buy from people that they like and that they trust, and that comes down to conversational skills. Number 7, running an effective sales meeting and proposal presentation process, having that scripted out so that you can get the best presentation, most effective presentation possible. Overcoming objections, and then asking for the business or closing. Those are the 9 essential skills. I'm going to leave you with 4 tips for success. 1, ditch any negative record you have playing in your head about not being a natural-born salesperson. I talk to so many people that this holds back from success. Ditch it. Get rid of it, all right? Having that sort of record playing in your head is a luxury you cannot afford as an entrepreneur. 2, get organized and set appointments with yourself each day to make sure that you're getting sales activity done every single day. This is one of the biggest problems I see with people in this industry is they scramble around getting to the point where they get a client and they scramble around trying to deliver services and then they don't sell anymore. You've got to make sure that you put selling time on the calendar every single day, every single week so that you're keeping that pipeline full. 3, go into it realizing sales is a full contact sport. People are going to reject you. They're going to hang up on you. They're going to tell you no. They're going to slam the door in your face. They're going to say nasty things. For some reason, it's become culturally accepted to lie to salespeople. The nicest, most honest people and ethical people in the world that would never lie to anybody will lie to a salesperson. So just expect it. Don't take it personally. And then finally, don't quit. Right? Don't quit. Keep after it. Building a real business, building a sustainable asset that produces revenue for you, even when you are off doing other things, is a fantastic, fantastic accomplishment, and something that I wish for all of you. Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite sales quotes, said, "Timid salespeople have skinny kids." Right? You've got to go out there. You've got to go out there and be willing to go for your goals and be aggressive. Don't be timid. Okay? Be willing to go out there and look for prospects, look for customers that you can help. And if you can help them and you know you can help them, do everything you can to get them to listen to your value proposition. All right, so that's my Rudy pitch there. If you've ever seen the movie Rudy, you can see I'm a big movie guy. I like this. But, the locker room pitch, hopefully you're fired up and you can go out there and start generating some new business. I appreciate your time. I hope that those 9 sales skills are something that just kind of opens your mind to what it takes to build that real business. Again, you can't just go out there and wing it. You have to have a process that's going to help you, systematically go out and get new business. That's what it's all about, is systematic results so that you can count on them and it doesn't require you having to do the hustle every single day to try and generate new revenue. Obviously, only so much we can cover in a 1-hour webinar, but I hope you got some good value out of it. Charles, just leave a little plug here for localincomelab.com. For people who don't know me, that's kind of where I hang out in this industry, and blog and put content and all that type of stuff. So certainly welcome to find me and learn more over there. And actually just launched a Facebook group yesterday, Local Income Lab Members Group. If you search in Facebook for that, Local Income Lab Members Group, I think we've already got like 270 people in there or something like that, and it's awesome. It's already turning into a cool little community of people sharing ideas and results and resources and all that type of stuff. So certainly, I'm in there participating, and if it helps, I'd love to see you in there and asking your questions. And if there's anything I can do to help, I certainly will. Charles, I don't even know where we're at in time, but I imagine we've got to be close to an hour or maybe even a little bit over. So at this point, happy to wrap it up and stick around and answer any questions that I can for anybody out there.
Yeah, we're just at an hour. Okay, everybody. I can say that I am definitely I'm probably a violator of of more than one of these principles, and it's definitely helped me to really have a roadmap, for improvement. And it's one thing to say, I really need to improve on sales. It's another thing to really have a practical roadmap where you can start looking at, okay, what can I do to improve, and what can I put on the calendar to start really making this happen. Okay, Mike's gonna kind of give you a little time to ask some questions. What questions do you all have out there? I know you should have some, just based on the presentation and think about what you're doing right now. And the gap between maybe what you heard and what Mike presented. What's working for you and what's not working for you. What questions do you have right now? Okay, yeah, Lee says this was fantastic training. Thanks Mike and Charles. Well, you're welcome, Lee. I'm pretty sure Mike. Yep. One thing that occurs to me, Mike, when you start talking about doing this systematically, is a lot of folks who are going to be on this call. They probably don't have a staff yet. Okay, and
Yep.
so they're probably going to have to start implementing some of these things right away. So of those last 6 things,
Yep.
where do you start? If you've got to start putting in and making yourself effective.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what? If you don't have a staff yet, which I totally get, I've been there, before. I understand it. All of this stuff is just that much more important, right? Because now it's up to you. You really got to leverage every bit of your time and energy most effectively, right? You can't count on other people doing things for you yet. I would say that the most important thing that I would do, and boy, this is a little bit of a long answer, but when you step back and you look at that, the whole meeting and presentation process, the whole proposal process, I would have a very, very, very thought through system for that process. And what I mean by that is you should think through very carefully who is my absolute ideal customer, and what would the whole process of them getting exposed to me for the first time, and then getting engaged with me on a more one-on-one basis, and then buying from me, how would that whole thing go? What would I deliver to them along the way to absolutely blow their, knock their socks off, so that they're super impressed with me?
Yep.
How would I get them to see the value of what we're doing? And what would that whole process look like? Because again, most of us just wing it. We just, I'm going to go.
Right.
I've got a meeting today at 3 o'clock. I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to try and get a deal.
Right. Yeah.
Well, instead, what you should be doing is you should be thoughtfully designing how should this go in an ideal situation. So, Charles, I mentioned earlier that we start our process most of the time through webinars. We don't like to just cold call people. What we like to do is get people aware of us through an educational webinar, because an educational webinar presents us as experts. It positions us as a resource for them. It gives us a nice hour and a half, whatever it is, to be presenting to, we now have webinars regularly with over 500 people on them at a time, so it's very scalable. And I can present to them the exact message I want with their attention for an hour. So to me, I look at it and I go, oh, that's the perfect first step. Other than their best friend knocking on their door and saying, you absolutely have to work with Mike, you made me $10 million, right? Other than that, which if you can get that to happen, then great. But other than that, I love having some sort of educational experience where they've learned from me and they see me as an expert. Then when they do, then we follow up with them in a systematic way to say, hey, I hope you learned a lot from that. If you were there's probably a reason for that. You've probably got some sort of challenges that you're struggling with, and we might be able to help you with that. Can we get a conversation? And then in that conversation, we present the exact same presentation each time, because we know that thing has been crafted for success. Mm-hmm. So again, a long answer, and I'm sorry, but what I would recommend is that somebody sits back and says, okay, what process should I design? What would that look like? What are the steps to it so that I can make sure that I can follow that as systematically as possible? Yeah.
There's some virtual heads nodding up and down here with what you're saying. One thing, Stephen, I'm not sure, Stephen E., I'm not sure if we know each other, but Stephen is asking, he says, great, but what do you, or how do you find and access the people to direct them to a webinar? And he says, please be specific. And I know you talked about that, in the Chase formula, but maybe you can kind of provide a little insight on some of maybe the mindset that goes behind that, Mike.
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people, that's exactly what I hear. Hey, Mike, I have no list. Oh, who am I going to hold a webinar for, right?
Right. Yeah.
So let me tell you, the number one strategy in my mind, the absolute number one strategy that anybody in this industry can follow is a couple of steps here. One, make a decision for a vertical that you are going to target, a vertical industry that you are going to target. And I'm not saying that this has to be the only vertical that you're ever going to work with, but start with one. Start with one, whether it's dentists, real estate agents, restaurants, I don't really care. Okay? If you feel like you've got some great value proposition for them, anyone will be fine. Now, why do you choose a vertical? There's a number of reasons. One, what we call a market-to-message match, right? If I'm putting a general message out to the whole small business universe, there's a lot of different types of small businesses out there with a lot of different types of problems. Versus if I am pitching exactly specifically to dentists only, then all of my language becomes about dentists and patients and dealing with insurance companies and getting higher rebill rates and getting patients to come back for more frequent visits. And dentists hear that and they go, oh yeah, that's my world. So that's a market-to-message match. Your message is going to work much, much more if you're targeting a specific market. The next thing you get is a service to market match. You now design the exact right service to meet dentist needs. Dentist needs are different from restaurants' needs. Now, with all the skills that you likely have about marketing online, you could certainly potentially handle dentists and restaurants, right? You've got great things to offer to them. But if you want to get really efficient and really nail your services so that they really work for an audience, pick an audience and then design specific services to them, and you will become so much better at what you're doing. You'll know their world so much more. Your services will become so much more effective. Okay? So now when you do those things, the world opens up to you. If I'm targeting dentists and I want to get a bunch of dentists on my webinar, I can now go to what I call channels and aggregators. Somebody out there has already gathered all of the dentists, right? The U.S. Dental Association or whatever it is. There's conferences for dentists all the time. There's local meetup groups for dentists. There are all kinds of resources that have already figured out who the dentists are and have them on their list. So now you can go to those channels with a value-added webinar and say to them, hey, I've got this webinar that's great for dentists. You have dentists. I think that you should share this with them, right? If they are some sort of industry association or anything like that, they are absolutely chomping at the bit to figure out how to provide more value for their members. And they will absolutely send these things out like crazy. This is how we grew Kutenda as fast as we did. We literally got channels and aggregators, industry associations, media outlets, software companies in the industry that we were targeting to promote us at no cost to us. They would just advertise our webinar for us. So everything becomes easier when you target a vertical and you have something specific that you can offer them. Now you know how to go out and get your audience.
Yeah. What I'm hearing, overall in your presentation in general, and even in the way that you're answering the questions, Mike, is that there's intentionality to the process, right. and I think that one overall big myth to both offline consulting and sales in general, I know even in my brain someplace, probably in everybody's brain here, is that you don't necessarily have to be intentional at every step in the process. And you've kind of broken what I believe to be that myth, at least for me, and probably everybody here on the call, if I could speak for some of the folks who are there. So one thing I know of folks who are on the call, and just put a 1 in the question box if you are not familiar with the Chase formula. Okay, if you're not familiar with the Chase formula, now the point of the call is not to sell you the Chase formula, but if you're not familiar with it, I will make that available to you in the follow-up email after the call. And again, if you're not aware of being intentional about this process, Mike's Chase Formula. I own this. I own information products, and those of you who know me, you know I don't send out affiliate offers and I don't promote them. So when I tell you this is worth your time. It is definitely worth your time, and I will make that available to you by email after the call, where you can get a hold of it. Yeah,
I
Wayne.
appreciate that, Charles.
Yeah, Wayne Thurby on here says he's a member and he feels the same way I do. So I know there are a lot of people who are part of the Chase Formula, and again, I think for me, you know, what it did for me is it said, okay, you know what, if you're unsuccessful in some areas, you can get intentional about some things in order to improve it, and then you can see the same thing. You can expect some success over and over again, and I think that's very vital, you know, to those of us who are kind of entering this, you know, as non-salespeople. Mike, you're doing something in Colorado, and I know I'm gonna tell folks about this kind of at the end of the call. And you're doing a live event, and can you talk about that live event, because I want to tell everybody about that also.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. Yeah, so you know, it's interesting. I've never held a live event before of our own, but we, you know, I got so inspired actually at an event earlier this last year that I decided, you know what, I've got a lot to share. Our team has a lot to share. We've had a lot of good success. I'm going to hold a live event and see if I can help some people out too. So we're having what we're calling our Local Income Lab Six-Figure Summit. That's June 6th, 7th, and 8th here in Denver. And you know, it's all about, you know, essentially what we covered in the topic of this phone call. You know, it's all about building a real business. You know, in this call we just quickly covered, you know, some sales and marketing stuff. In our event, we're planning on covering all kinds of stuff. You know, sales, marketing, in much more depth. How to build processes at your business so your business operates more systematically. How to understand financial metrics at your business to make sure you're on track to actually making some money. All of those things that go into building a real business. Building a business, again, that in my mind, a real business is a business that runs without you, right? So that you can go and do whatever it is that you want to do, and your business is still working and operating. Whether that's, you know, you have 50 full-time employees or none, and you use all outsourcers. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do that. But yeah, that's what the event is all about. Certainly, we, you know, I appreciate the awareness, Charles, and we have, you know, seats still available for that. So certainly, if anybody is interested in coming, you know, I really do think it's going to be a great opportunity to learn how to take your business to you know, a totally different level, I imagine, and you know, and make, you know, some serious progress in the next year at achieving your goals. I mean, that's really, you know, our objective in that event.
Yeah, yeah. I've put I've got a page together. If you just go to my site at gainmindshare.com and put /CO, it's just CO for Colorado, you can take a look at the summit and see if it's for you. And I can tell you, if you like kind of what you heard. Now, one thing that kind of bugs me about some of these things, Mike, is that, you know, sometimes you go to them and it's kind of like a beauty pageant or a fashion show, and kind of get you know, kind of everybody comes to the stage and they kind of pitch their thing. Is that going to be this kind of thing?
No, I'm glad you brought that up. No, this will be a zero pitch event. This will be 100% education. I'm not. There will be nobody there presenting any sort of product at all or any sort of service at all. Yeah, no, it's 100% education. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been to a lot of those. I've been frustrated with a lot of them, and we are not going to do that. We're going to dig in. We're going to learn. We're going to, you know, answer people's questions. I'm going to do everything I can to spend every hour of those days that I can stay awake and help people and make them feel like, you know what, I came to this event and my business is going to be different in the next year because of it. That's my goal.
All right, very good. Well, It looks like that's all the questions that you have. Although you pretty much covered, I think, a lot of ground. And again, everybody, go on over to gainmindshare.com/CO. Check out and see if the summit is for you. And I definitely think there's some seats left that you should probably check it out and get there. Also, I will make by email available to you the Chase formula if you have not had the opportunity to get into it. Again, it's something that I own, and I don't I just generally don't buy information products anymore. This is one that I'm glad I did, and I think you will be too. With that, Mike, again, thank you. This has been valuable information, and I can't think of anything else that would have been more timely for all of us to learn as we kind of get into it. Yeah, Wayne says, great, yep, awesome info is what folks are saying here, Mike. So again, I definitely appreciate it, and I can speak for everybody who's here that it's a great a great thing that you did here tonight.
Great. Well, hey, I really appreciate it. I thank you for giving me the opportunity here, Charles, and also just want to say thanks again to everybody for taking the time and giving me your attention. I know you're all busy and you got a lot of things that you can do, so I hope you got something out of it. And I really do hope that you can take what you learned here tonight, apply it to your business, and I hope that the next year is your best year yet. Go out there and get after it, and I hope to hear your success stories. So thank you so much, and take care to everybody.
Okay, yep. So everybody, if you're listening by archive, check out localincomelab.com. That's where you can find Mike. And thanks, everybody. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, well, I certainly hope that this has helped you to build your business. And I have to tell you, there's a lot more where that came from. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and click the subscribe button. Then you'll get access to all of our videos as soon as they come out. And then also, there is a logo down there, and that's the Gain Mindshare logo. Click that logo. It's going to take you directly to our website, and you'll have a form there that you can put in your name and email address, and you can get access to all of our live events as they're happening, and we don't want you to miss a single thing. So again, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed this presentation, and we have so much more in store for you. And so with that, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in our next event. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.